Day 2, Business Breakthrough Mastery. I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to check in, and I'm going to make sure my AV is all set up and good. Yesterday was great. Yesterday we had a lot of people who come in, a lot of people who watched it afterwards via email or via the Facebook group. So thank you for all of those who came in, who chimed in, who messaged in. I think it's important that, as a small business owner, as someone who's trying to grow their business, that you have a community with you. It's frightening sometimes, right? Some of the things that you have to deal with, discuss as a small business owner, and it's even more frightening that you have to do it alone. It's said that entrepreneurship is the loneliest game in the world, and I can kind of agree with that because I've been there in those situations where I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know what was the next play, how I was going to get in a situation, out of a situation. And it can be troubling sometimes. So I think that's why, breakthrough challenges like the one you're on today, I think coaching, opportunities, mentorship, reading books, making yourself available to continue to grow, I think is going to be critical in your growth of your business. Just wanted to recap a little bit about what we talked about yesterday. It was a phenomenal day. We talked about gaining clarity in your business. And that really just means understanding like why you start your business, why you got into it for the first place, and really what you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to achieve in your small business. So we had some homework, and that was going over the CHAMP framework. We talked about your current situation, where you're currently at in your business. We're talking then honing in on your desired destination, so where exactly you want to go. We then talked about applying the 80-20 rule. And that's really figuring out what 20% of the activities in your life are critical to making sure that you reach that 80% goal. After we figure out that 20%, we talked about taking massive action inside your business. And then lastly, we talked about the pursuit of your entrepreneurship transformation. So those guys who finished that, put it inside the Facebook group. We have a Facebook group specifically for this challenge, which is called 4-Day Breakthrough Challenge. We're going to put that in the link in the description, so that way you can keep track. You can go inside the challenge because there's a PDF. If you're looking at the workbook that I just showed you, this is in the PDFs at inside that Facebook group. So you're gonna have access to that. You're gonna have a community of people coming in, chiming in, and we want to make sure that you're able to accomplish your goals, keep you on track, and really put yourself on the road to success. One, finish out the year strong. And then more importantly, to start 2023 even stronger. Oftentimes, I see this a lot in sports and the transfers over in business, is that, sometimes you start off the season or you start off the first of the year on fire, and your goals are just like big goals. They're BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals, and we're going to take on the world. We're going to accomplish it. We're going to crush it. But then it gets to the middle of the season and things get real. And then you got some critical decisions to make about what are you going to do. Are you going to try to change your goals? Or are you just going to give up? Or are you going to keep on pushing forward? And me, of course, I'm the latter. I'm going to keep on pushing forward. I'm never going to change my goal. Maybe I change my approach. Maybe I change how I get there. But I want to hit those targets. And I think it's important that even if we have lofty targets and we miss, we're still striving for perfection. And one day, it's all going to seem like it happened overnight, but I can assure you it did not happen overnight, and it happened because you were consistent. You took massive action. You understood where you're going, what your desired destination is. You did your 80-20, and you figure out what 20% of activities you need to do on a consistent basis to achieve your results. You took massive action, and you're on that constant pursuit to get better. I don't know about you, but my goal, the race that I'm running in life, I want to finish strong. I want to finish every leg of my life stronger than a previous leg. And I think that's the testament to who I am and what I want to accomplish in this lifetime with my legacy. In fact, I think one of the greatest sports history ever, ever, it's not Michael Jordan, 63 points in the garden, or LeBron James, some of the big games he had, comeback, 1-3 against the Golden State. I don't know if you're a Michael or LeBron fan. Either way, they're both great, phenomenal athletes. Is it Tom Brady coming back against the Atlanta Braves? Is it Gary Brackett, most solo tackles of any player, any Super Bowl? You can check it out, Super Bowl 49. I had 12 solos, so that record still stands. Reggie Jackson, 3 home runs, missed October. But the greatest sport event I think that ever happened was Secretariat. And it was in a Kentucky Derby where in this race, it's a horse race. In this race, the horse ran every length of the race faster than the previous. It was the first time that ever been done before. There's 4 lengths. Each one he ran faster and faster. So he actually was accelerating through the finish line. And I look at my life, I'm 42 right now, and I look at my life and I say, all right, cool. If I'm gonna live to 80, I'm gonna live to 100, so 20, 25 year increments, right? I'm gonna go 20. And so I'm on my second leg and I want to be stronger. Well, damn, I'm on my third leg. Sheesh, I'm on my third leg, bro. 0 to 20, 24, I'm on my third leg, y'all. So I'm on my third leg, and some of you guys on your third leg too. So the goal is, how do I finish this leg stronger than my previous 2 legs? And how can this one be more impactful? And for me, it's about building leaders. For me, it's about giving back. For me, it's about giving people the wisdom, the knowledge that I've learned, that really over the last few years that I've just obtained, because I think it's critical and it's mind blowing and it's a breakthrough. Like when you change the way that you think, when you change the way that you operate, when you raise your standards in your life, you can have a breakthrough moment. And that's why I'm here to encourage you that if you're willing to change, if you want to do the work, then you can also have a breakthrough. You could be successful, not only in your business, but also in life. Because what man is to gain the world and loses his soul? So I want to make sure that, yes, our business is automated and we're getting things in order, but also let's look at our lives. And let's also make sure that we look at our lives and look at areas that we can improve there as well. Does that make sense? Hope that's fair enough. And I hope you guys are thinking along those same lines about being holistic, not just in your business, but in your weight and your finances, your spirituality, your relationships, all those things we need to tighten up. All right. So cool. So today, as promised, we're going to talk about some business foundations. That's right. Business foundations. What are they? And essentially is what you are inside your business and how you show up for your business. So I want to make sure we get a good idea of what business models there are out there, because there are a lot of different business models out there. And some of us, start off and we're on one business model and then we want to transfer, go to another business model, and all that is good. And I think we just have to recognize where we're at and kind of grow from there. Does that make sense? But I think in order to grow from the business model, one of the things we have to understand is that we all are leaders. We are leaders. If you own a small business, then you're a leader, whether you like it or not. Whether you call yourself a leader or not, guess what? You're a leader. If you're own a small business, or if you don't own a business at all, you're still a leader. Because guess what? The number one person you need to lead is yourself. So you still are a leader. So no matter whether you own a company, you don't own a company, you still have to be a leader. And you have to figure out a way to get yourself to be successful. And when we look at leadership, again, this is in the workbook. Leadership is the ability to inspire a team to achieve a certain goal. It's usually discussed in the context of business, but leadership is also how you, as an individual, choose to lead your life. The definition of leadership is to influence, to inspire, to help others become the very best selves, building their skills and achieving goals along the way. You don't have to be a CEO, manager, or even a team leader to be a leader. Leadership is a set of skills and a certain psychology that anyone can master. So show of hands again, that worked yesterday. How many guys consider yourself a leader? And my next question is, how many guys have been taught how to be a leader? Because one thing, whether you consider yourself a leader, the second thing is like, have you ever been taught how to be a leader? And for most of us, we haven't. There's not a lot of leadership programs inside of our schools. There's not a lot of leadership training unless you go out there, unless you find them. And even if you do, I don't think it's something that is necessary. You learn once and then that's it. You're a leader for the rest of your life. I think it's something that you have to constantly fine tune. You have to constantly tighten up because as the world changes and new challenges become available, we have to really figure out what it is and what that kind of looks like. So I hope you guys understand that leadership is critical in anything that we want to do inside of our lives. In fact, the 3 mandates of leadership is see it as it is, not worse than it is. I think we always have a situation, a problem to look at things sometimes as worse than what it is. Sometimes things are bad. Yes, they're bad, but let's take it for what it is. And so often I think we get so involved in our heads that we don't realize, that there's other things that are in play. And I think we really need to understand and figure out what else we could do to solve some of our challenges. And like I said yesterday, we look at opportunities, we look at problems as opportunities to get better, to solve them. Number 2, see it better than what it is, right? You have an opportunity, you see a situation, you can see it better than what it is, right? And that's the way of leadership. And third way is make it see the way it is. And I like the third way. I like to Coach Dungy would always teach us in the game of football, no matter we are up or they're down, never get too high, never get too low. Always be even keel, always be mindful of your surroundings, be mindful of what's going on. And I think that really helped in some critical games, because whether we were up or down, if there's still time left on the clock, then the opposition could still go in there and score some goals. So we had to stand guard, constantly. And we had to really figure out, because we keep scoring life, we had to look at the scoreboard, right? And I think that was critical to understand where we were. And I think that's a key part of leadership, because oftentimes, especially after these last 2 years that we've been through, if leaders was mum and they were quiet and they were just hoping everything would just blow under the rug, they had a lot of frightened people inside the organization. And if you as a leader didn't step up and say, hey, I don't have all the answers, but this is what I know. When the information changes, I'll be sure to get back in touch with you. And I think that's critical. And so oftentimes that didn't happen. So I think as a leader, we have a huge opportunity to lead from the front, to be knowledgeable ourselves, to constantly grow ourselves, to constantly build ourselves. Because again, we can't have an 8 as an organization and be a 6 as a leader. We have to constantly get better. We have to constantly grow and challenge ourselves. All right, so now that we have that down pat, I want to talk to you about business models. Now, before, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna try to pull this up. When I was in college, I was always a student. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I would study, I would read. And I don't know if you guys probably date myself again, but Robert Kiyosaki, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad was a phenomenal book. So I was all over Robert Kiyosaki's books and programs. In fact, they had that money they guarantee. I would order the books, go print them at the library, and then I would return them, right? So I didn't quite have the money to keep the books, but I still got the information. So one of the things Robert Kiyosaki taught was this whole cash flow quadrant, right? And this is how a lot of us, and I know this is how I kind of looked at business growing up, where you had E, B, S, I, right? E, B, S, I. And how that works is that the actual E stands for an employee. So I think so many people don't actually, so many people work as an employee, and there's nothing wrong with being an employee. But as an employee, you trade time for dollars, and essentially, as an employee, you're capped, right? You probably have a cap on your salary, how much you can make. It's probably some sort of either hourly wage or salary wage, and that's okay for some people, right? So the S, what's the S? The S is self-employed. So here you're self-employed, right? So that means you own a job. You own a job. And for so many of us, I don't know about you, but I didn't go into business that I can own a job. The job of being in business is that you can have an actual business. And when you're self-employed, it's a lot similar to being an employee. You still trading time with dollars in some regard. Still getting taxed pretty high, and that's still challenging. So then, after you get older, after you get more knowledgeable, it's probably not even older. After you get more knowledgeable, I would say, you could be a business owner, right? B. And this is where things start getting good. This is when you start having tax breaks. We talked about this yesterday. This is where you can start buying time, right? We all don't have 24 hours in a day. That's a myth. If you're a business owner, you get to hire people and you get to pay them for their time. And if you did a good job of setting your vision and what you want to do, they can help you build that, right? So that's what a business owner does. So he has employees, and he's able to hopefully opportunity costs. If he's paying an employee, $10 an hour, he's able to make 15, or she's able to make 15, $20 an hour, and on top of that, right, gross additional revenue on top of that, right? And there's tax advantages. You can write things off, you can be an S corp and pay yourself a salary. There's a lot of different things you could do. And then the last thing is as an investor. So as an investor, right, this is where it's all passive. This is where we just are investing in things, and this is where we're just letting our money work for us. And I think that's beautiful, and I think that's something that we all want to get into. Like, we put in some money, right? We put in 2, and then we get back 1, 2, 3, 4, even 5, even more, right? We want to ball. And I think that's how I think traditionally we all looked at the business model of business. And I think so many of us, unfortunately, when we looked at that, we looked at the investor, and we sometimes, in my opinion, are investors too quick, because we don't have our business set up as a business yet. We are still self-employed. We still on our job. And now we're throwing the money that we could double down, put systems in place, grow our business, put a website, go digital, go online, use some scalable strategies, and really make that one income, instead of being, 80 grand a year, 150 grand a year, $500,000 a year. We go and invest something that we know nothing about, with hopes that it's safe and it returns, and maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So I think when you sign up to be a business owner, I think you have to be mindful of, like, hey, there's a lot of money inside my business, untapped potential. And as a business owner, our job is to really tap that potential and to make sure that we fulfill it. And I think sometimes we do not do a good enough job of getting that done. So what I learned, and this is something just by taking courses and doing that type of things, that when we're talking about business models, the new way of thinking, this is Myron Golden's business model, is that his business model is quite different. His business model are 4 different type of business models. And his 4 different type of business model are, first, he calls it a Walterpreneur. So if you're looking in the workbook, there's a Walterpreneur. And a Walterpreneur is set up, hold up right quick, and they are set up where they're here. And they set up and they're selling, right, low volume and low profit. They're a Walterpreneur. Low volume, they ain't really making no sales, and they ain't really making no profit. So they want to be an entrepreneur, they desire to be an entrepreneur, but their business model that they selected doesn't allow them to be an entrepreneur. Doesn't allow them. They don't have a marketing strategy in place. They don't have maybe a website in place. They don't have a sales system in place. They don't have operations and policies and procedures in place. They just want to be an entrepreneur. It looks cool. It looks great. They don't know what we know, that is crazy, that is busy, that is gonna keep you stressful, that you're gonna be worried, right? They don't understand that. But they just think of the good side, and there is a good side to it, right? You can uncap potential. You can make as much money as you possibly can. Time freedom. Once you make money, you can do whatever with your time. You can hire people. But if you have a low volume, low profit business, it is going to be challenging as a business model to be successful. Especially, not only that, but then you're like a commodity, and people aren't even looking at like what you do. They're just looking at price. So it's like a race to the bottom. So you have to constantly compete with everyone else on price, and you don't want to do that, right? So the second business model that he talks about, and this is right here, selling high volume. So now you're selling a lot of volume, but it's low profit. High volume, so you're moving a lot of units, but it's low profit. And this is called the Walterpreneur, after Sam Walton. Sam Walton's business model was to not make 100% profit. I think it was like 30% profit off each one of his items. And that's a great business model. I think a lot of people are getting rich off of that business model. Selling a lot of different things, a lot of different, if they're an e-commerce site, a lot of different items on their store, they're shipping it out. It's low profit, but they're moving units, and that's great. but you're doing a lot of work. You're doing a lot of work. And I think while the profit is there, I think there's easier ways for you to be in business. There's easy ways for you to position yourself to become successful. So we're gonna look at the third business model. The third business model, right, is as an entrepreneur. And this is probably a lot of us. We have low volume and it's pretty high profit. There's low volume. We're selling units, we're moving units, but maybe we don't have the lead generation set up. Maybe we're not moving as many as we thought we could. Maybe our system that we're using for lead generation is based off referrals, it is not repeatable. And if that's the case, yeah, you're moving units, it's low volume, so you're making sales, it's high profit, you make money when you sell something, but it's just not repeatable. It's not repeatable. And again, this model works. This model, you could be successful in this model, but there's one thing that I've learned that I want to share with you, and I think it's really eye-opening. And the reason it's eye-opening because so many of us want to be successful, and I don't know, it's like an arbitrary number, but I always hear this like, what do you want to do? What's your goal? I want to make $1 million. I want to make $1 million. One, I would tell you, right, having had millions of dollars, I think one, it's probably not enough. I think you probably need more than $1 million, maybe $1 million a year, maybe continue to grow. You could definitely make it enough, right? I'm not saying that, but I think that number is very arbitrary. And I want you to think bigger. I want you to think in terms of your impact and what you want to do. But this is the reality of that number. You want to make $1 million. This is the reality of it, right? So in America, there are 30.2, get ready for this, you ready for this? Million, right? Million small business owners. That's how many business owners there is. 30.2 million business owners. So he got a business, you get a business, you get a business, you get a business, you get a business. It's like Oprah. Everyone has a small business, right? And again, we looked at the business model. Some of them are entrepreneurs and they got low volume and low profit, so they're not really making any noise. Some of them are selling a lot of high volume, right, low profit, and they got the Walmart model. Some of them are entrepreneurs, low volume, high profit. But of that, 30.2 million business owners, right? So, okay, 32 million, but here's the thing. Less than 5% earn $1 million. Less than 5% of 30.2 million earn $1 million or more a year. So again, it's a great goal. It's just challenging to get there. Only 5%. But there's a reason there's only 5%, because those 5% of people probably have the systems, probably put forth the effort, probably do coaching, probably go to conferences, probably really work at putting their business in position to grow. And if you don't do that, if you continue to be the bottleneck in your business, if you continue to have an operation where you don't get paid unless you show up, typically what happens is you burn out. Typically what happens is you just run out of energy, space, and if you don't rest your body will rest for you. Your body will just get sick enough and say, I'm shutting down. You could continue, but I'm out of here. So you have to take care of your body, and you have to work smarter, not harder. And I think I grew up like a lot of you all, and just thought business was all right, you just work really hard. How many people, show of hands, got taught that in business? You just work really hard in business. That's it. You just work really hard and good things happen. And that's not the case, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it's not just about working hard. In fact, there's a study. They're called the Hexagonal Test. The Hexagonal Test is like a DISC test, Myers-Briggs type of test, and the Enneagram. And it's supposed to be the most accurate way that you can really understand if someone will be successful. And one of the things on Hexaco, the C stands for conscientiousness. And conscientiousness is broken down into 4 different ways on how they measure success, right? So the first way is diligence. So diligence is hard work. So hard work is only 25% of the equation of success. So, because if it was just hard work to be successful, then people out there cutting grass would be successful, right? If it was just hard work to be successful, like people working on the highways, right? People that got those hard challenge, cutting down trees, right? Those people will be the most successful people. They work the hardest, clearly. They will be the most successful, but it's not it. That's only 1/4, 25%. The second thing you need to be a perfectionist. You need to be a perfectionist. You need to be very good at what you do. You need to be very good at what you do. You need to be accurate. You need to make sure you double check, triple check, and make sure things are accurate. Like when something is going out in your store, you're making sure the quality is there. You're making sure the assurance is there. There is restaurants, right, that I won't go to because it's a crapshoot. And they're everywhere. My kids love them. But I hate going to them because whether or not my order will be correct is always a topic of discussion. I will have to sit in the line and check my bag. And we can, what restaurant we think this is? You guys can say it on your thing. I don't want to get banned from anybody from talking about restaurants. But there's other restaurants, right, where they say my pleasure. And your order is always correct. Almost. Have some challenges with them too. But it's just about how diligent you are in serving your customers. Right? Number three, third thing it takes in order for you to be successful, you got to be organized. You have to be organized at home, in your office, on your computer, in your life. You have to be organized. I don't know how many times, and this was a big life changer for me, that I would spend looking for documents, that I would spend looking for one piece of paper. And it just takes so much time and so much energy that I'll be exhausted by the time it's time to do anything else. So if you want to be successful, you have to be organized. And lastly, is prudence. And prudence is just decision making. Prudence, you have to be wise and thoughtful with your decisions in order to be successful. So again, in order to be successful, hard work, but there's more, diligence, right? So diligence is hard work. There is, you got to be a perfectionist, you got to be organized, and you got to have prudence. So those are the four things that really combine each other in order to be successful. And check this out. For some of y'all, like, all right, cool. I don't want $1 million. I want more. I want $10 million. All right, sweet. Less than 0.5% of businesses make more than $10 million. All right. So less than 0.5 million out of the 30.2 million small business owners. Again, you get a business, you get a business, you get a business. Out of that large number, only 0.5% ever makes $1 million. All right? So you have to begin with the end in mind. You have to figure out what your current situation is. You have to look at and hone in on your desired destination, where exactly you need to go. You need to apply the 80-20 principle and figure out what activities do I do over and over again that's going to yield to my biggest results. And then once we figure it out, we got to take massive action, and then we have to constantly pursue that championship transformation. And that's what we need to do to be a part of that 5%, to be a part of that 0.5%, and to grow and scale our business. We have to set ourselves up for success. We can't be the bottlenecks in our business. We can't keep our business in our head, and whenever someone asks us a question, we have to think about it, we have to get back to them. We have to do a better job of putting in the systems, building our foundation, deciding our KPIs, and then driving sales, repeatable sales. You know exactly what's coming in because you can track it, because you have a dashboard. We're going to cover that tomorrow. All right, we're getting good. All right, cool. So the last one, the last business model, right, that you need, and this is the one that I love, is the Wealthpreneur. So the Wealthpreneur has a high volume, so they sell a lot, and it's high profit. High volume, right? It's in demand, they sell a lot, and it's high profit. And the great thing about Wealthpreneur, you know what's great about that? You get to set your price. You get to determine, based on the value that you provide, based on the outcomes that you deliver for your ideal clients, how much you're willing to charge for them. And the beautiful thing is that if you do a good job of providing value, if you do a great job of delivering outcomes, it doesn't matter how much you charge. It doesn't matter. If I were to tell you that with the skills, with the experience, with what I've learned, if you give me $1, I would give you back $5 in return, would you make that trade? Yes or no? All right, cool. So how about if I say, if I give you $10, if you give me $10, then I'm gonna return it back to you $50. Would you give me that much? All right, so that's 10. Let's go up. About $1,000. Would you invest $1,000 if I say you can make 5,000? How about $10,000 if I say you can make 50,000? The answer is always yes. It's always yes, because what rich people do, what wealthy people do, what the people that make the 5% of the people who make $1 million, with the 0.5% of people who make $10 million, what they do, they buy things not based on price, they buy it based on value. They buy it based on value. So many of us are looking at things like, oh, what's the cost? There's a catch, what's the cost? And we have to switch our thinking from what is the cost to what is the investment. The better question is, what outcomes can you guarantee? The better question is, what results are you going to be able to deliver? That's the question, because if they could deliver results, if they could give you powerful outcomes, the price should be irrelevant. If you can afford it, it should be irrelevant, because you're going to do the work that is required to give you the outcomes that you desire. But some of us need help getting there. And if that's you, there's opportunities for you to sign up for that. But we have to start thinking differently. If we want differently, we have to think differently. And we have to start looking at these business models, right? From being a entrepreneur, where we just want to be an entrepreneur. We got low volume margins and low profit, right? To being a high volume and low profit. That model works. People are successful with that. I don't knock that, right? You got an entrepreneur where low volume and high profit. You haven't nailed your marketing, your lead generation, and then lastly, high volume, high profit. So it's all about us in terms of like what we're able to accomplish and what we're willing to do to build our business model. And I think one of the things that we really need to look at moving forward in our business is how can we change it? How could we potentially look differently at our business that we can change our business model? What things can we adopt? What things can we implement to potentially look at our products and services and look at things that we could potentially scale better? Because my problem when I was in the restaurant industry, the only way I thought I could scale the company was to open up another restaurant. Well, that's another $500 to $1.4 million. That's the only way that I could grow revenue. And what I should have thought was like, you know what? Instead of investing in that, I should invest in these one restaurants, and I should invest in scalable strategies. And that's what I did towards the end. Towards the end, I started to say, you know what? What if I systemize everything that we do? What if we show people exactly how we're successful, the stores that are winning, the stores that are producing 200, 300,000 a year, and how about we sold that information, we franchise that? How would that sound? How about if your business, if you sold products and services that you can make once, you could create once, and you could sell thousands of times? How could you stop trading time for dollars? And there is a way that you could do that. And in order for you to do that, what you need to think about and what you need to do is you need to start creating scalable products, scalable services, things that you could create once and you can sell thousands of times. And if you're on the workbook, we just did the business model. So we went through exactly what each one of those business models were. And you guys and girls can write in what your business model is and what are the benefits and what are your thoughts around why you selected that business model and what are you going to do now, knowing what kind of life you want to create with your business and your business model. And then what you could do is you could look at this page right here and you could look at some of the scalable strategies that you can have in your business. You can replicate your talent with a team. We talked about it, right? You don't have to only rely on your 24 hours. You can have other people step in and offer their help. You get customers to buy more often. Do you have a database set up where you could contact your customers? Not just on Facebook, not on Instagram. Do you have emails? Do you have phone numbers that you could get in touch with them? And do you have either continuity programs or do you have anything else to extract more cash? You can add services to a product. If you sell a one-off product, can you add services with that? I have a client who does basement restorations, and with those restorations, he has a service contract that he gets paid for. Membership sites. Can you create a membership site where, again, you create a course, you create something where you're going to get an outcome for your ideal client? They come in and you're able to charge them for that. And instead of showing up daily and showing up doing one-on-ones, you could do a group program. Certification program. Are you skilled? Do you have some type of a training? Do you have something that you can certify others in that they can utilize? Monthly subscription model. Monthly subscription model, I talked to this hedge fund company, and he told me something, right? He said SaaS, software as a service, right? Those monthly subscription service model companies, he said they're the eighth wonder of the world. The eighth wonder, and the reason they're the eighth wonder of the world is because when they sell, and most of them are built to sell, to scale, they get eyeballs, to grow their platform and then sell, they can sell for anywhere from 10 to 20 times EBITDA. 10 to 20 times EBITDA. So when you're looking at your business, you got to think of a few things. One, what's going to happen? How am I going to transition for this business? Is it going to be a succession plan, and I'm going to hire someone that's from the company, or am I going to bring in a relative, or do I have a kid that's going to take over the business? Or two, if I'm going to sell it and get it ready to sell, what needs to be in place in order for us to sell it? And how can I get the most amount of money from my business? And that's when you create systems and you create processes, and something is reoccurring. Also, you can license your products or service. There's a lot of that. You can have retainers if you're a lawyer, if you're maybe a doctor. I see a lot of doctors in private practices have retainers, and then you would get things. You have online courses. You're gonna have ebooks, your own technology. You're gonna have an app. You can expand globally. Same model, new locations, right? You could grow different locations. You could franchise. You could license. You could buy your competitors. And you could turn a cost center into a profit center. An example there is your social media into a service for others. And I think so many of us are skilled in what we do. So many of us are gifted in what we do. And we look at our products and services, we have to look at a way that we could duplicate them. We have to look at a way that we could scale them, that we could grow them, because if we could do that, then we'll be able to turn what is just a one-time fee, just a one-time purchase, into a multiple fee, into a recurring purchase, and that's something that we could get over and over again. So I'm gonna give you an example, and I think I'm gonna have to run real quick. Give me 1 second, or maybe Jen, if you're listening, if you could go get the book, the workbook. So for me, I'm gonna give you an example of how I was able to use a membership site and what I did in order to get that done. And what I did, right? So in 2020, can you bring me in a workbook? I'm at my office. I had somebody bring me in a workbook so I don't leave the screen. Then y'all leave thinking I'm going. I ain't going nowhere. So I was speaking in 2020. A workbook. Yes, 30 Days of Diversity workbook. Yep. So when I was speaking in 2020, so I'm a speaker, so I do a lot of keynotes, and now they're more locally. Again, my kids, 13, 10, and 8, I'm involved in their lives, so sometimes it's challenging for me to be on the road. So I prefer to stay home, to speak, to coach online, and to have inside classes at my office. So what I did though was, because I had this 4-part program. So I started as a program where I, as a facilitator, was going to go into an organization and we're going to get 4 speeches that they have to pay for individually, and all of that will package a program. Well, of course, the company said, well, can't you just do it in one? Absolutely not. This is a bunch of information. We're talking about diversity and inclusion here. I can't just show up 1 hour and just check all the boxes. We need time. And I saw that as opportunity. And I would speak once, and I would get a feel for the company and the organization. And some companies I spoke multiple different times. But what I did was I'm gonna solve for this. They have a challenge, they have a number that they would like to pay for this information. I don't want to give out all the information at that number in person. So what I did was I created a system where I was able to put that information inside of a workbook. So first was the workbook, where you go in, it's called 30 Days of Diversity, and it shows you how we can have a solution-focused approach to talking about diversity and inclusion. And when we talk about it, not only talking about just, race, not only talking about hiring, but talking about, our policies and our procedures, talking about our procurement, who we're buying from, talking to our processes, All those things are diversity and inclusion, because it's just not about our color. It's about our abilities. It's about our genders. It's about our sexual orientation. All these things matter. So how do we do all those things? So I created the workbook first. Then I said, you know what? The workbook is cool, but let me do something else. So then I created a book. So I just released the book probably about a week ago. And now I'm talking to companies about buying the book and the workbook. Well, all right, G, that's like, you told us about business models. That I know you could only serve so much for a business model. That sounds like you're gonna sell maybe the Walmart strategy, right? High volume and a low profit. Yes, that was the beginning. But you know what I did? In order to go to that high volume, high profit, I then put what was in the workbook, what was in the book, what was in the speeches. I put all that into a membership site. So now I have a whole membership site for 30 days of diversity that you could go in, and those same speeches, right, that I would go in person, that I would give and spend anywhere from an hour to 2 hours giving and delivering in person. I now create a system where I could do that all digitally. So I recorded all those online with a bunch of other resources, with a bunch of other workshops, with other blogs, with other guides and things like that. So now I create a system where they can log in. They have a private pay system. They go log into a site, right? That's a paywall. And now they can have a membership that include all the courses, all the film studies, all the blogs, all the communities, everything that they would pay me in person for. I created a system where now they can all get it digitally. So now they could just go online, and instead of having me have to go fulfill it, having me go speak at this event, having me fly and speak there, now I could just sell them a book. I could sell them a workbook, and those are kind of like the front of my funnel, right? Those are like my front end stuff, right? We got tofu, the top of the funnel stuff, getting people to know, like, and trust me, understand where I'm coming from. Then I can nurture them, and then I could get them into a situation when they're selling memberships from anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000, right? Recurring revenue. So that's how you have to look at your business and how you solve for problems. What's something in your business that you could scale? What's something in your business or something that you do that you add value, that you give someone a desirable result, that you're an expert in, that you can either write a book on, you can create a course, a membership program, a certification, an app. What is that thing? Because again, as a business owner, right, we have to think big. We can't just be so busy inside of our business that we can never think about growing and scaling and taking our business to the next level. Like our business is not going to be a $1 million business just by working hard, right? And if it is, it's going to drive you crazy. So what I want you to do is start working smart. What I want you to do is start thinking like what you do inside your business that you can grow and scale, that you could create some sort of scalable product. What is that for you? What does that look like for you? And for many of us, it's a product. For many of us, it may be a service, but we could get started. And I get it's challenging. How do you do it? How do you do it? Well, guess what? There's people out there that can teach you how you could do it. There's people out there that can train you and show you how they've done it and how they've been successful. So if you want help on these areas, there's people out there that can help you. But first, you have to start thinking, what is that for you? What is that thing for you that's going to help you create that level of success? And it's possible and it's doable, but you just have to start thinking a little bit differently, right? You have to become, what we talked about earlier, a leader. You have to think like, all right, not how things are, right? And you understand this, but how can we make them better? And what does that look like? And oftentimes, and I'm just gonna be honest with you, oftentimes it requires you to slow down first before you speed up. And this is one of the biggest challenges where people just think like, hell, oh, I'm just so busy. I'm just so busy doing so many things. Then you're never gonna have an opportunity to really speed up if you just maintain that. You just stay so busy. So you have to get to a point where you stop being so busy and you start coming up for air. You start thinking about what strategies can you implement inside of your business so you can grow, so you can scale. And I hope that makes sense. So as a part of that, right, how you get there and how you buy that time back is first you gotta set up systems, you gotta set up processes for what you do now so that you can delegate that to someone else. So you can automate that. So if you're someone who's saying like, all right, cool, where do I find the time? Well, guess what you gotta do? You gotta start setting up some SOPs, some standard operating and procedures. You have to start brainstorming what you do inside your business. You have to start writing them down. You have to start documenting them. And then you're gonna have to start training other people. So inside of the workbook, because I know that's the question. Oh, I don't got the time. Okay, we're gonna make this some time. We're gonna give you the ability to have some time. What inside your business do you do? And let's write the steps. It's that simple. Step number 1, I open up my computer. I go to this website. I log in with this information. I check for this. I look for this. Step number 4, I do this. I send this information here. So step by step, let's document what your processes are in your business and get you ready so you can grow, ready so that you can spend time with that scalable product. Because for me, I want to be in a situation where, one, I could dictate what I could charge, and 2, that my value and what I could charge is protected. And I'm not in a commodity business. I'm not with a business where maybe the customer could tell me how much they're willing to pay. I want to be in a business where I can say, hey, this is the value that I create. This is the outcomes that I deliver, and this is what I charge for it. And not have a conversation. And I think it's possible, but first we have to set up our business model. We have to figure it out. We have to set it up and make sure that we're successful inside there. And that's how we're going to get to an opportunity that we're going to be able to grow. So we're going to be able to scale. So for your homework for today, what I want you to do is I want you to start thinking big. What is that one thing, if you know you couldn't fail, you would do, you would try inside your business, right? Because I know some of you are like, oh, well, I switch business and I do something. No, you're an expert in your business. Let's start there first. There's this analogy, story, parable that I love, and it's called the Acres of Diamonds. And it goes, in Africa, there was a farmer. And the farmer had this acre farm, right? It's like a small farm, 5 acres. He did good for himself. But he heard the rumors that there were diamonds somewhere out there in Africa. So he just couldn't keep his mind off of the diamonds that were out there. So what did he do? He actually went ahead and sold his farm, packed up everything he had, and said he's going to be on the search for diamonds. So he goes, first year deciding finding diamonds. Second year, third year. After like 7 years of not finding diamonds, he throws himself inside of a lake and kills himself. Right? Tragic story. The farmer who purchased his little plot of land, his little acre of diamonds, right? And by year 3, was in the back, the little river, found this stone. It was beautiful. It was great, right? It wasn't a Super Bowl trophy or anything like that, but it was precious, right? It was like one of a kind. And then what he did with that, right? I'm definitely got to wipe off the prints, but that's okay. But what he did with that, right? He put it in his house, right? And then he had visitors, and the visitors came by and said, "Oh my God, what is that?" He said, "That's the stone that I got back in the back in the little river that I have." He said, "That's one of the most precious stones that I've ever seen. Do you mind to show me where you got it from?" So the farmer walks out. The whole river was flooded with diamonds. Flooded with diamonds inside of the acre that he sold. So that same guy who thought to himself that there's diamonds out there, that there's like success out there, I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing, I'm going to stop doing what I'm great at, and I'm going to go out there and chase something I know nothing about, and I'm going to fail miserably. No, if he stood right there on his own farm, and he mined his own farm inside of what he was already doing, he could have had massive amount of success. And that's the same thing with you. If you stop looking at shiny object syndrome, if you stop looking at the next fad, the next thing, and start really doubling down, triple down on what you do well, what you do best, what you're an expert at, and you figure out how can you create scalable strategies, scalable systems, scalable products and services that you can grow, you can create one, sell multiple times, that you could franchise, that you could license, whatever that is. If you could do that, then you too could find the diamond inside your business. So that's the opportunity, that's the goal. So for you today, I want you to look at what are some strategies that you could think of that you're able to scale your business. What are some of the things that you could do? I want you to, if you're not already there, I want you to sign up at 4-day business challenge. We're gonna put a link inside of the comments, and I want you to sign up there, and I want you to fill it out. And what we did is we want to offer somebody, we reward someone for being here, for rocking with us, for sharing our link. Hope you guys are sharing these lives so more people see this information. Because like I said, my goal is to create more leaders and less followers. My goal is to increase that 5% number and have more people make millions of dollars inside their business. And I want you to constantly share it. I want you to fill out this paperwork inside the group. And we're gonna pick one person, and we're gonna have like a 3-hour VIP session with them, valued at like $3,000. And we're gonna pour into your business, and help you strategize how to get that on the next level. For everyone else, you can obviously book a call with us and our team, and we can figure out how we can have a business breakthrough. We'll look at and help you figure out ways you can grow. And tomorrow is day 3 of the challenge. I have some exciting news that I'm gonna launch with you tomorrow. So I want you definitely to come in tomorrow, because I'm gonna give you opportunity to work with us. So I'm excited about that, and I'm gonna explain all about that tomorrow. And tomorrow, what we're gonna discuss is how do we establish our KPIs. So we talked about business models. We talked about setting up your processes, your systems. Now we're gonna talk about establishing your KPIs, what they look like, what metrics should you be looking at, because look, we need to know our numbers in our business. We talked about this day 1. If we can measure it, we can manage it. So what does that look like inside of your business? So that's a preview of day 3. But again, thank you for chiming in. We're going to now go off. Definitely keep the conversation going inside the Facebook group. So definitely meet us over there. We're gonna chime in and answer any questions that you might have. And tomorrow, same time, same place, we're gonna talk about establishing your KPI. So we're talking about building your business foundation, right? We talked about that today. We're talking about tomorrow, deciding your KPIs, establishing your KPIs, getting organized. We talked about organization being one of the one force. We know you work hard, so now we're gonna get you organized, right? Hopefully with the KPIs, hopefully with your SOPs, you can get that perfectionism going, because people are doing things the same way. And then lastly, we're gonna talk about driving sales. Now we're gonna talk about that on day 4, which is gonna be Friday. So I'm extremely excited. Thank you for being here. Thank you for rocking with us, man. Go inside of the Facebook challenge, download the workbook, fill it out, because it's not knowing that's gonna separate you. It's not just hearing it that's gonna make you 5%. It's actually doing the work, taking the time to think through some of these problems, and looking at them as opportunities, and figuring out how you can grow, how you can get better, because I need to get you to an 8 so you can bring that organization that you're running up to you. All right, I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all go out there, win the rest of your day. I'm excited. Thanks for joining us, and I will see you mañana. All right, ciao.